All right, so welcome everybody to the Blue Collar Bodybuilding Podcast. I'm Dave, and I'm here with my buddy Travis. And Travis was nice enough to come join me on a call here. And what's up, Travis? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Just glad to be home from the gym. What'd you train today?
Chest.
Training?
Nice chest day.
Oh, it's nothing better than playing with your boobies, huh?
No, that's it, man.
Nice. Do you do just put like just chest on your chest day, or do you do like a triceps as well? Or
I do primarily chest, and I have one tricep exercise, and then on my shoulder day, I also hit upper chest again. So
oh, nice.
trying
That's
to
good.
get that shelf.
Yeah, there you go. Good. So, anyways, so I wanted to have Travis on. As everyone might have watched before. If you haven't, go ahead and check my previous video there. But I kind of opened up a little bit about my struggles with addiction in the past, and kind of how that had obviously played a big role in my life. And I had a lucky enough to find fitness and kind of my dedication to want to get myself out of the bullshit I had put myself in with alcohol and drugs. That fitness really played a big role in getting me out of there, helping me have somewhere to put my time and just kind of dedicate my focus a little bit more into myself for a positive way rather than kind of a self-destructive way. And Travis and I became buddies at the gym. We were both kind of the bigger dudes walking around, checking each other out at one point in time, and got to talk. And couldn't be a nicer guy. And have a lot of similarities, I'd say, a lot of kind of same sense of humor to a point, as well as we just both really love the gym. And but nonetheless, one other thing we had in common is Travis himself has actually dealt with addiction in the past. Obviously, a different story than my own, but he was nice enough to kind of come on and hopefully tell us a little bit about it because when I had mentioned to you, Travis, that I kind of wanted to tell everyone about my past, not just to not to just tell a story, but mainly just to get a chance to see if where I'm coming from can help people down the road or make them realize that um, you're not too far gone in your addiction to, find a different way to channel that channel that release, because
Yeah.
drugs to me and alcohol was kind of my release of stress. And obviously, fitness can play a big role into that. So, but you were all for it. You thought that was pretty cool where we can kind of share our own stories and hopefully help a few other people. So, I don't know if you want to just start, Travis, kind of tell me where, how you kind of got caught up with your addiction and how fitness plays a role into that. And
Yeah. So my name's Travis Patterson. Hello, everybody. Um, so basically, I started drinking, excuse me. I think it was my junior year in high school. Growing up, my parents are both sober now. They've been sober since I was born. So I kind of grew up in the house where drinking wasn't allowed. They kind of strongly encouraged me to stay away from it for a long time. And then just by the friends I chose in high school, I went down the road of drinking. And I remember the first time I drank, I went to my buddy's house and we were in his basement. I probably had like 12 beers and I woke up the next morning with a hangover and I was like, I need to do that again. And from there on, now looking back at it, I can say that that's, where it started for me. It became, a thing that I needed to do every weekend. And slowly priorities started slipping away in high school. I was a very good high school football player. I was being recruited by D1 and D2 schools, and slowly, those things just slipped away because I really just wanted to party and drink. And then I got into cocaine in high school, and that was scarce, but I had done it. And then college rolled around. I went to college. My parents put me through college, which I'm grateful for. And the party basically just kept rolling. And it was 4 years of, skipping class, making grades just so I could graduate. I did intramural sports and club lacrosse, which was like a beer league in itself. But basically, it was just drinking, drugs, And then when I got out of college was when the real problem started for me. I had no real ambition as to what I wanted to do. I graduated with a business degree, and I was living with my parents' house at the time. So I was just kind of raking in money. I had no expenses at the time. So it kind of gave me freedom to just spend money on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And then I think I graduated in college in 2013. In 2015, I got my first OUI. We were coming back from the bar and I was driving and I was super tuned up. And I remember dropping my buddy off and I just blacked out after I dropped him off. And then the next thing I remember was the cops knocking on my window and I had driven to, where did I go? An elementary school that was nearby his house. And I just pulled off in the driveway or in the parking lot there and I fell asleep. And I don't know how long I was out for. Excuse me.
Mhm.
But they knocked on the window and I kind of woke up and I was like, oh, this is it. So
Yeah.
I was arrested for that and then basically pleaded guilty, got away with the quaff, which is the continuance without a finding. They put you on probation for a year. In the 11th month of probation, I got popped for my second OUI. And then I had lost my license for 2 years. What else? Yeah, to make a long story short, I had lost my license for 2 years. And then ended up getting a breathalyzer in my car for a little bit after that. So in between those things, I was kind of going through like stints of sobriety, but nothing long. It was kind of basically trying to get my life together on Monday and everything was good until Thursday. And then my buddies would say, hey, come out. And I would go out. And then, Monday would be the next week. I'd be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday rolls around. I'd go to the gym, but then we go to like wherever was like the closest, Applebee's or like the 99 or some cheap place, go out and have like 6 beers and then go home. And then that's when the weekend started. And then everything else went out the window.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I had moved out of my parents' house. I was in my current house now. I still had the breathalyzer in my car, and it had just basically fully consumed me to the point where I would go to work, I would drive myself home, and then I'd get home as fast as I could because, I found out that your body metabolizes 1 drink an hour. So the sooner I got home, the sooner I could start drinking. That would mean I could have more drinks that night. And then once, my 15 or 12 or 15 hour window didn't become enough for me, I started using cocaine again pretty heavily, where it was like, 4 nights a week. And I just was losing sleep. I was, failing my business, and my brother, who's my business partner, I just wasn't being present or showing up good in any way. So finally in 2020, it was just basically it was Groundhog Day from like 2017 to 2020, where I was just waking up, living the same day. And then I basically remember until 5 o'clock every night. And then from 5 to whenever I passed out, that was not there for me. And then I'd wake up and start my day again. And that was my life for a long time.
Wow.
And then 2020 rolled around. And I basically just went on a run where I basically just shut everybody out. I had a long weekend, and when I had free time, I was like, it was, go time for me. It was drink as much as you can, wake up, go to the store if you need to, and just keep drinking, because that was really the only way to numb the pain of the hangover. I was like a big fan of the hair of the dog. There's only one way to beat the hangover, and that's just to keep drinking. And so it had been, I think, 3 or 4 days, 2 of which I didn't make it into work, that I just wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't responding to my family. My brother had been filling in for my shifts at work because I wasn't showing up. And then finally, my mother and my brother ended up coming to my house, and they found me in my bed, and I was passed out. I think my nose was bleeding, and I'd say I was pretty close to death at that point. I know I'd been drinking and doing some serious cocaine for days at that point. I wasn't eating, and I just remember my mom coming into my room and waking me up, and I was just like, "What is going on?" And she basically said, "Travis, we need to get you help. You need to go into a detox." And at first, I was super hesitant, but I didn't really have a choice. I felt like it was the right thing to do. I knew I needed it. I knew I needed it for years, but I just didn't want to face, reality.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to keep hiding and try and not and let anybody know about my struggle. And so I went into detox in I think it was October or November. It was November. And I stayed there for 3 days. And while I was there, my counselor said, "Hey, are you planning on seeking any help after this?" And for some reason, I said yes. I don't know if that was my, higher power or what, telling me that something needed to happen differently. But I knew that if I left detox, I was just going to go right back to what I was doing. So I got into a program, and I stayed at the sober house for a month out in Weymouth, and I met some good dudes out there. One of them who, at the gym. I'm not going to mention his name just because I
Yeah.
don't know if he wants it on here, but
Yeah.
um, still one of my really good friends. Stayed there for a month, moved into the sober house for another 4 or 5 months after that, and then actually moved back into my house with my buddy there, so we could keep each other accountable.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just like I didn't really know what I wanted to do with life. I didn't hold myself accountable. I didn't really like myself. I wasn't pushing myself for anything. And drinking and drugs was my way to kind of forget about that.
Yeah.
And I tried to keep it hidden for as long as possible. I would try and I'd get my hair cut every 2 weeks. I would just do like these little things to kind of hide myself, make myself look good on the outside and have like a nice shell, even though I was, 280 pounds, just overweight. My cheeks were always red and rosy. I was throwing up at work. Um, but it was just not good. So
Yeah.
being sober now, I've come to like myself. I've come to learn how to deal with things.
Yeah.
There was a guy in the program that told me if you don't want to do something, it's probably because it's good for you.
Yeah.
So I try and keep that mentality all the time. And honestly, um, just like trying to be present and take life for what it is has been like the biggest thing for me. They say in the program all the time, one day at a time.
Yeah.
And that was a huge one for me. And I think you had mentioned it too.
Yeah.
But really just like keeping it in the day and appreciating what you have,
Yeah.
and not comparing yourself to, what's going on in others' lives. I know I felt that I was behind everybody because I put myself there, and I wanted to, I wanted to be married. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have a dog. I wanted to have a new car, all these things that drugs and alcohol just didn't let me do.
Yeah.
And as much as I knew that was the issue, I wasn't going to get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's amazing how the mind works that way. Right and wrong, but we get pulled one way to the wrong when
Yeah.
we're, drinking or using. That's amazing. First off, I just gotta say I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I know what it takes to, I didn't really use Coke as much. I did a little bit, kind of drinking and Coke go together a little bit sometimes, as we all know, um, but it's just a lot of similarities between what you're telling me. I'm sure probably a little bit the same when you listened to me talk the other
Yep.
day. But it's not easy, and a lot of times it's kind of funny that you say that. If it's something you don't want to do, it's probably good for you. And my uncle, it's one thing I have that my uncle gave me that's in my fire safe that I'll never throw away. It's my graduation card, and he wrote down in my graduation card, he said 5 things that you won't learn in school. And the funny thing is as he writes this, he misspells so many things because he's not a good speller, but he's right. And one of them is it's always easy to do the wrong thing. It's always difficult to do the right thing, but don't
Right.
confuse don't confuse your ambition. What you're trying to
Yeah.
do. And it's true. It's not easy doing what you did. That's amazing. So you went to an actual outpatient rehab, or
Yes.
you went to inpatient rehab. So you stayed somewhere in a rehab for, would you do like a 30-day program or something like that?
Yeah, so it was a 30-day at the sober house where you weren't allowed to leave, you weren't allowed to have a car.
Yeah.
Basically, I shared a room with one other dude, and I think there was like 20 guys in the house.
Wow.
And we'd have to be up at a certain time, and the bus left, and they'd shuttle us all to the center where we did classes from like 9 to, I want to say 3 every day.
Yeah.
Um, and then they bussed us home, and then they bussed us to the supermarket on Sundays, and we had to do all the shopping for ourselves, and that was really it. And they had a well, actually, one of the reason why I picked the place was because when the counselor in the detox, I asked, she was giving me this giant list of sober houses, and I said I want to go to one with the gym. And so she found this place called the Brook Recovery Center. That's where I went. And she said, "Oh yeah, they have a really nice gym. That's what people say." So I'm like, "All right, I'll go there. That'll be great. At least I'll be able to work out."
Yeah.
And so I get there, and they check me in. We do all this stuff, and I'm like, "Hey, where's the gym at?" And they're like, "Oh, it's down in the basement." So I go downstairs, and it is the most rickety piece of like Bowflex equipment and treadmill from like 1970. But it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't have my cell phone. You weren't allowed to have your cell phones from certain times. So I would just go down there. And if one of the guys who worked there was nice enough to hook up his speaker to the Bluetooth, you'd have some music while you worked out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's why I picked it. And actually, it turned out to be incredible. It was kind of run similar to a frat in a way where there wasn't so much hazing, but they really tried to drill into you that it was like a life or death thing,
Yeah.
and to really hold yourself accountable to the point where they were yelling at guys, not yelling, but like turning the lights off when you leave your room, because if you're not, it's like it's being aware of
Yeah.
things. You know what I mean? Going out into the real world, there's things that trigger you everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you're not mindful that you can't turn the light off leaving your room, what else are you missing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. It's just like you say, being present, in what you're doing, leave my room, I shut my light off, having some accountability, having respect for your own stuff and your own
Right.
clothes,
Making your
your
bed.
own room and all that. And yeah, man, that's I'm proud of you. It's not easy to I had a long road of I've been an alcoholic other than before I was, when I was a kid. But since I was 16, I've spent like 3 times as long being an alcoholic than being sober by any means.
Yeah. Right.
I'd have stints where I'd be sober for a year, drink for 2, sober for 9 months, drink for a year and a half. And then finally, this third time, putting myself in kind of a situation like you, where I put some things I had to accomplish in front of me, which was, I had to successfully detox. I had to let people know where I'm at, or be honest with myself. And, I never really hid too much of what happened. I never really hid my addiction. My family's kind of the one where, they're always there for you. I couldn't ask for a better family, but they kind of let you be, they know not to ask questions on certain things,
Yeah.
kind of hush hush, not hush hush, but they just kind of, we keep our, they knew if there was something wrong, I'd say something, and
Right.
they don't pry,
Right.
so
Right.
never really hit it. It was just kind of, but not to the extent. I don't think they knew how heavy of a drinker I was, or maybe your family was the same, didn't know how bad your using was in alcoholism until they had to find you, or you had
Yeah.
to have but you're
Same
lucky
thing.
you never crashed your car in a DUI or anything like that, huh?
I mean, I had woken up in snowbanks and I pushed myself out. I was probably driving drunk more than I was sober, because if I went out to the bar,
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. I was driving home. And then later in my alcoholism, when I had the breathalyzer in my car, I wasn't going to bars. I was just drinking in my living room because
Yeah.
I wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to be around other
Same.
people. You know what I mean?
Same.
I
I
didn't want
was
to
a
have to
very
talk to
shut in
anybody.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
just easier.
go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's easier. And
Yeah.
when you're that far in it, you don't want to have to deal with anybody because you just want to drink. That's it. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Well, I can relate to the part where you say, like, you'd have these little stupid bro science things in your head, like, I got to get home quick because then I'll be 2 drinks behind instead of
Yeah.
instead of just being on top of it. And it's funny, people say like, oh, it's just willpower to quit alcoholism. And it's like, I had it's not really just that simple of willpower. I had scenarios where I could say the same thing. I used to hate going out to the bar just to go to dinner with my wife. And like, dinner's what, an hour long. By the time you sit down, eat, pay, and probably start walking out the door. And I'd have 4 or 5 drinks, but it wasn't enough because I knew the longer I'm at the bar, the less I was going to be able to drink compared to if
Right.
I'm at home. I can have those 5 drinks in one cup and be done in 30 seconds
Right.
and pour another. And people go, well, they just don't understand, like, that is a sickness. That's not,
Right.
that wasn't my game plan. I didn't think it was cool. I didn't think it was fun. And a lot of times I was a slave to it. You know,
Yep.
I'd be too drunk to go somewhere. Or there was one time, won't get into the details of it, but one of my family members had a life and death situation, and I had to run to the hospital, and I'm half in the wrapper, and I'm their healthcare proxy. And I had to make some decisions for them on a breathing tube. And I'm just sitting there going, and that didn't shake me. That didn't shake me because everything went fine. And I rationalized like, oh, yeah, everything panned out
Good.
fine, and so it's not easy. And I've kind of come to find out the more that I'm able to kind of understand at least my own problem, I can understand other people's problem, and I can be of a help to them.
Right.
The more I shut in and don't talk about it, just like I wouldn't realize it when I was drinking that I had a problem. Those things are the wrong mindset. It's, if you have a problem, you might as well talk about it, because
Yep.
you're going to find out the truth. The truth's going to come out one way or another. And, you know, um, but nonetheless, one thing I was going to ask you about is, did you lift before? I know you say you did sports, but how did really, you and I know each other from the gym, but how did lifting really help you through this, like it did me, in a sense?
So I always went to the gym. I never really took it seriously. It was just something I enjoyed doing. But alcoholism doesn't really let you achieve much in the gym when you're in the full thing.
Yeah.
So I always liked it. It was always a stress relief for me. It was a place where I can go and clear my mind. And, um, I just love being in the gym. I love the atmosphere. I love, like, that was the one thing I did for myself to try and better myself throughout alcoholism. It wasn't very serious, but
Yeah.
that's was my thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then,
Does it help you now being sober that you have that, you have a day? Because I'm sure there's times where drugs and alcohol are pop into your head, and I'm sure there's times where you don't think about it for 3 days. And the gym helps me remind me that I have a goal that doesn't include alcohol. It
yes,
doesn't include it's not, I don't want to say selfishness, but I have something that's more than just my amusement at the moment. I got jobs that involve my lifting. I have, some commitments that are done with it, and there's people I want to help, and I coach. And so it's helped me stay a little narrow where I can't involve alcohol, one, because I'm an alcoholic, but two, the fact, like, it doesn't go with my nutrition. I'm not going to have a beer when I won't even have a candy bar.
right.
So like, all those things are detrimental. So I find the gym helps me stay honest and true and just on track.
Yes.
I'd imagine some facets got to help you, as you're trying to stay sober day to day.
Yeah, exactly. And just because we're sober, we're still addicts, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
even when I was in my teen years, I was like heavy into video games. Like you could say now looking back on it, I was addicted to them. I would stay up till 3 in the morning on school nights playing video games. And then
Yeah.
my addiction kind of took over into the drugs and alcohol. And now I would say that it's my newest addiction. But it is nice because it's bettering myself. And just like you said, we're able to set goals. We're able to chip away at them one day at a time and string all this time together where you look back in a year on your check-in pictures and you say, holy shit, I put on, you know, 5, 7 pounds of lean muscle mass. My legs look bigger. My back looks bigger.
Yeah.
And it's all, everything that you do in the gym, whether it's the diet or the training, you can all bring that back into life itself, as far as like holding yourself accountable for things, um, and just, doing the right thing, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Well, it shows you get out of things what you put into it.
Right.
Just like your sobriety, you don't take it too serious, you're going to slip.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Did you do anything else with, like, when you got out? Did you do any kind of counseling. You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, you popped off the screen. But anyways, are you there we go. Did you do anything like counseling, or did you have, like any, like I did the breathalyzer with my wife. Did you have any kind of, like, your mom wanted you to do a drug test, or was it, you know what I'm saying? Did you do anything
Yeah.
else to keep you in line?
So the buddy that I moved home with, we had lived together for like 7 months
Yeah.
prior to him moving out with his girlfriend. So it was nice that we were on the same wavelength as far as where we wanted to go with the sobriety.
Yeah.
And in a sense, it was kind of like a brotherly, like holding each other accountable. Like we used
Yeah.
to just absolutely rag on each other, and like he'd come home from work and I'd be sitting on the couch and he's like, "What are you drunk, bro?" I'm like, no, I'm not fucking drunk. And he's like, well, you're being lazy. And I'm like, just really getting after each other about, doing the
Yeah.
right thing, making the next step count. And
Yeah.
then other than that, we did a lot of meetings when we first got out. Meetings work for a lot of people. I go to them probably once a month or once every other month just to remind myself of the fact that I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. But I think the biggest thing for me was just I made a connection with a higher power, and just realizing that I'm just a small piece in the puzzle and
Yeah.
keeping myself humbled. Um, and, it's not all about me. I can't be in control 24/7 of what's going on in the world. The only thing I can do is deal with what I have control of and make the best of it.
Yeah.
So like I said earlier, just keeping myself present, keeping myself aware, holding myself accountable. Those have really been the big things for me.
Yeah. It's
And
funny
then,
you say, like, you switch one addiction for the other. Like, now the gym's your addiction, but people don't, that's one way to put it. But I also try to tell people that go through the same shit as we've gone through when it comes to addiction, and then applying that addiction to lifting or bodybuilding. It's a little different. It's still kind of an addiction because you just can't seem to live without it, at some
yes,
points. But you do learn from bodybuilding, specifically bodybuilding. For me, I've learned how to manage that addiction too. Like, I have to learn, when you're an alcoholic, you don't learn when to pull back on
right,
booze, but I do learn when to pull back on my training or my food or the PED drug load, or whatever I'm throttling down on. You start to learn tools that can be
yes,
used not just for the lifting and bodybuilding, but you're applying that to everything else. You're learning quality over amassing quantity. You're learning,
right,
form, and, like, how you how you present yourself, and
yep,
you give a value to yourself. When you drink, you don't. You actually I started to hate myself more and more, and I looked like shit more and more. And like you said, you have these rosy, puffy cheeks. I don't know how my beautiful wife even wanted to look at me. And it's just where now I start to gain more appreciation for myself. I respect the fact that I get up and do it when I don't want to. So sometimes, yeah, it's an addiction, but it's how you look at it, your output, your thought process towards it, for sure. So I hope people don't look at it like, oh, they're just trading one for the other. It's like, no, I'm actually, one's beneficial and one's given me a lot of tools to learn more about myself, where the other one was just shutting me in on myself and
yeah,
cutting me off of possibilities, if anything,
yep.
but what would you say, to anyone that's probably, oh, and just to share with everyone, the funny thing, when Travis and I started talking, what when was your sober date? October or
November
November?
4th.
Okay, so I'm like, so I'd be like 7 days sober longer than you. We almost have the same date we got into detox.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny. And our other buddy, same thing there from the gym. I think
yeah.
you guys are a day apart. I'm about a week before you, but
No,
no.
it's funny actually. I meant to bring up was when you were talking about the Tewksbury State Hospital in your video. I had went there as part. I don't know if it was I don't know if it was. I think it's the second OUI. They make you go to the Tewksbury State Hospital for what they call the dual program,
Yeah.
and I had to stay there for 2 weeks. And that place, like you said, it was a dump. It was such a dump, and you're just in there with all walks of life. And I remember one morning, I'm in like I'm in there in like I think June. There's
Yeah.
no air conditioning. It is hot and muggy as could be. I'm sleeping with my window open,
Yeah.
and at like 6:30, this guy rides his bike by, and all of a sudden I just hear him yell, alcoholics. And that was it. And that's how I started my day. I'm like, oh my God, where am I?
That's funny. Yeah, I literally felt like I was living the one that flew over the. I thought I was Jack Nicholson, and one that flew over the cuckoo's nest. I was like, this is the same
Crazy.
tile, the same like blast from the past. I literally
Yeah.
thought the nurses were going to have those little flat bonnets, and
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is this? But one thing I was going to ask you. So imagine there's a Travis out there that's November. That's the end of October, 2.5 somewhat years ago, and they're going down the same path as you. And they like to lift, or they have some sort of passion. I mean, what kind of advice would you that comes right to mind? Good advice, or just something that pops to head that you'd want to give that person that just needs the push to start bettering themselves, or seek detox or help.
Honestly, the biggest thing is just like it's being vulnerable. For me, I didn't want to find help. I didn't want anybody to help me. I always thought I could do it by myself. But as soon as
Yeah.
you extend the hand, help comes, and there's help out there for anybody who is trying to recover or better themselves in any way. You just have to find it.
Yeah.
In the alcohol and drug programs like AA or whatever, they're really easy to look up. But it's really just looking for help,
Mm.
and that everybody is struggling with something. It's not doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It doesn't have to be putting on weight or losing weight. It's whatever. Everybody's got something they're going through. And when you reach out, you create a web of people who are trying to help you, who hold you accountable if that's what you need, just to help you build yourself up
Yeah.
and try and achieve what you're trying to achieve. And for me, that was something I didn't want to do for a long time. But once I allowed my mom to help me, once I got into detox, once I went to the program, met all these people who are holding me accountable, then it's like, all right, I'm starting to build this web of people who not only care about me but want me to succeed. And I'm sure that like my family did before, obviously. But I would just say, just
Yeah.
reach out, and don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed of.
Yeah. No, I'd say that's good advice. I'd say, yeah, just taking the first step to talk to someone that loves you dearly, whether that's your mom, your brother, your best friend or whatever. Luckily, I had Jackie at the time. She was the first person I said, I'm making a change, and I'm gonna promise you. And it starts there. It's got to start somewhere.
Right.
It's just like the first day you stepped in, and just like me at 280 plus something pounds, you're not going to lose it in one workout. It's just
Right.
starting somewhere and getting the ball rolling. But it's like moving a boulder down a mountain. It sucks to get the thing moving at first, but eventually it's just going to roll downhill, and
Right.
you're going to be chasing your goals. Um, so what's the goals for you now? I mean, you got anything good in the future here? I mean, when are we going to when are we going to get you on stage?
I don't know. I don't know about the stage. I'm on a cut right now. So I was at the top of my bulk. I was at I think 273 or 4.
Yeah,
I'm down. It was 256.8 this morning. So I think I got a couple more months of this,
yeah,
and just do a pretty serious cut. See what I look like. See how my body changed, and then maybe consider it. I don't know. I'm the type of guy that always makes excuses for shit and
yeah.
like, oh, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And then the right time never comes. And then I never did something. So we'll see. But, my goal right now is just to keep enjoying the gym. I
Yeah,
enjoy the diet right now. I love all my meals, which helps make dieting easy.
yeah.
Um,
I see you eating out of a trough. You
yeah.
trough all the
Yeah.
time.
I got so much
But
flack for spelling that wrong on Instagram. People were getting ready to send me to the
Okay,
stage.
I
I couldn't
found this
believe it.
on the web for read out of the trough.
sorry, my Siri just started talking to us.
No worries.
But yeah, we got to get you on stage, Travis. You're too good of a bodybuilder not to at least go through it once, dude. There's some
Yeah.
so if you're thinking a few months until the end of your bulk, I mean to the end of your cut. I mean, so let's say you're into what, July time. I mean, and then you put like another month to fine tune things. There's some good shows in August coming up. I'll have to send you the schedule of what's local and what's going on.
Yeah.
Start poking you a bit to get going on it. But
That's what I need.
I'm gonna put some. Travis is gonna get me some pictures. We'll throw a little right up in the top here, people will start seeing a couple befores and after pictures so they can see, and where your physique is at. And you're a big boy, and you hold a lot of muscle. I think when you get super lean, as I've seen you before, quite lean, I think you'd do pretty good. I think you'd blow people away on stage for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I won't keep you too long. I just wanted to have you share that. And I really kind of think that, guys like you that I look up to, a guy like yourself. I admire the way that you've handled yourself. And a lot of this, like you say, you have done on your own, because you still have to do 51% of the work. You can have all the help in the world, but you got to be the one pulling the cart, not sitting in it.
Yeah.
And, so I admire you for that, because I know it's not easy, and I know that you've been through some stuff that's just like myself. And anyone that struggles with addiction, yeah, I think that's great advice. Just start step one and talk to someone and figure out, where you're at, be honest with yourself, and get going on it, for sure. And don't be afraid to just, you got to be ready. You can't half-ass this, but you got to start somewhere. And don't wait till people say, oh, you got to hit rock bottom, because nowadays rock bottom's dead.
Yeah.
Nowadays rock bottom isn't poor shaking a cup on the corner for some change. It's literally you're dead, unfortunately. But my goal is to continue to have unfortunately or fortunately, I have a lot of friends like us that have been through a lot of these scenarios that are in the bodybuilding world that I think a lot of us can relate to, and at least find a way to help each other. So I don't do meetings. I have some things that help me keep sober, and a lot of the times it's just talking about it, talking guys like yourself that are talking to my wife, or just talking openly to myself about it, or on the internet. And that helps me. That definitely helps me. So I'm hoping down the road to just continue to have a couple people like you and just talk about it. There shouldn't be a taboo to, just some big tough 275-pound Travis. There's no reason you can't open up and tell everyone where you've been, because you got guys like myself and a lot of people that look up to you for it. And so I wish you the best, brother. And
Thank you.
I'm going to click off here, but hold on for 1 minute, and we'll talk for 1 second. But I just want to say, appreciate everybody for watching there. Anything you guys got for comments, put them down below. I'll make sure if Travis wants to, I'll put his IG there so you guys can follow him and his journey. And if you guys got any questions for myself or anything that you can relate to, just reach out. Our IGs or YouTube comments, or just directly to us in any way, or us personally and you're struggling for something. I know Travis isn't not going to shoo you away if you need to talk about it, nor would I, or my wife as well. I know I can speak for her. So but thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, and Travis, appreciate it, dude.
Thank you.
All right.